The worst nightmare. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 269 of the Shower Podcast, the podcast where I'm in my shower and you do you. I'm your host, Chip, and today's episode is one of my favorite ones, where I will try to explain to you one of my ideas through a direct and complete, hopefully, stream of consciousness. And I would really encourage you to listen to the whole thing and really debate and comment in the comment section about your opinion, because in the end, also my idea is valid if we share it. So I really encourage you to make it to the end of the video, because I really believe that by the end of it, you might, let's say, agree with me, or let's say find very interesting bits that you might be able to incorporate in your life. Before we start, as usual, if you end up liking this episode and overall the idea of the Shower Podcast, remember that liking and subscribing really mean a lot for me. They're just one click, but they really, really make the difference. Thank you very much for considering it. So, get comfortable, and let's start with the premise of today's episode. A few days ago, I was really thinking, what is the worst trait? What is the worst thing that could have happened to me? And of course, there are several horrible things that can happen to somebody, and there's a lot, let's say, of bad things out there. But if we are strictly speaking of character traits, so things of how you are, how you behave, how you think about everything that surrounds you, work, people, yourself, I ended up realizing that there is a common thing that touches on everybody, whatever your life is. If you come from a humble background, if you have a normal life, if you are one of the wealthiest people in the world, there is one thing that at some point in your life you'll have to deal with, and that is compromise. And my statement that I would like to explain to you today is that I really believe the worst thing that can happen to you is if you never learn to compromise. So let's start from the higher end of the spectrum. Let's picture person A. This person lives and breathes money. They always have lived in a wealthy situation. Growing up, they never learned the meaning of no, and they always had what they needed, be it through connections, objects, people, relationships. They always somehow had everything that they wanted. So compromise was never part of their life. But at some point, in whatever aspect of your life, as I was mentioning before, be it work, be it business, be it relationships, or yourself, you'll have to do it. So imagine that one of your investors says no. In a relationship, the person that you are desperate about doesn't want what you want. It has a different opinion, a different view. And you've never practiced the art of compromising. And you see that most of the time these people panic, or nonetheless are really, really challenged and struggle. Because even though you have received everything in life up to that moment, the moment in which you will have to deal with it, and again, I acknowledge that indeed, in that kind of life, the moments in which you had to do it were minimal. So it's not really even your fault. But again, the moment that you have to deal with it, you will struggle, and you will struggle a lot. And the problematic and the scary thing is that you might not even recover, because again, this idea of compromising, it's just something that you don't really want to accept. You don't want a life in which you want to compromise, because you are, in your head, that person that will need and has to have everything. And even though this is scary, I also believe that it might be even scarier, another possibility, which is if you always have to compromise. And I think this kind of scenario, it's much closer to all of us, to some more, to some less. But let's say that if your life requires you to compromise always on everything, be it if you want to buy something, you always have to reconsider because you cannot really get what you desire. In relationships, if you always are the person that has to give in, you always have to compromise because the reasons can be infinite, but you maybe don't want to upset the other person. You know that you are the weak link, maybe. You don't have so much self-trust, so you say, well, I should be the one compromising because this or that. And that is also completely scary, in my opinion, because you will actually never get gratitude. You will never be fulfilled because, again, a life full of compromises is a very, very tough life. And therefore, as it always happens, but the desirable bit is in the middle. If you have had the chance to learn how to compromise, so growing up in your life, you have been told no. You had to make choices. So you developed that skill because I really believe learning how to compromise is a skill. And the reason why I believe it can be trained, and it should be, is because the moment that you unlock the skill of selective compromise, so you learn what you actually desire through experience, through loss, through struggle, you have learned the things that really are at the core of you. Again, it can be identity, it can be how you work, how you handle people, how you handle yourself. So you have pillars here and there. And if you have those, you know that on those things, you don't compromise. Because at the end of the day, you would be compromising yourself, and that kind of behavior will lead you to failure, to dissatisfaction. On the other hand, you, let's say, have also developed a flexibility in your mind that permits you and enables you to make cuts here and there. So you know that even though in a debate, your opinion, even though you might be very affectionate to it, given the context, the situation, the person in front of you, you learn how to compromise. You learn how to be in the middle. And by doing that, at the end of the day, later on, you will be rewarded by that because you were able to read the room and read how to proceed forward. And overall, let's say what I would like to make you think and really think about are two aspects. So first, have you really defined your core principles? What are your things in which you know you don't want to compromise? If you haven't, try to do that as soon as possible. It's not something that you just end up doing, on a day to another, but think about it. The more you think about it, the more you go out there and experience what you like, what you don't, what you are able to tolerate, what you are not. Through that, you will be able to define those boxes. And again, I speak from personal experience. The moment that you know that, everything will be much simpler because also decisions are just either, are they touching? Are they compromising what I like? No, good. Then you can move on. And the second bit is also how good are you at compromising? So in the moments in which you have, are you capable? Are you tolerable to others' opinions, others' choices? Are you comfortable with having less on compared to what you had in mind? And again, also there, if this is something that you're not really comfortable with, go out there, try it, experience it. Make sure that if the chance is in front of you and if you have the possibility of compromising on something, try it to see how it feels, to see, to not get, let's say, surprised when inevitably life will put you in front of a compromise and you will have to accept it. So to summarize and conclude today's episode, try to imagine this life in which you will never have to compromise. For the first seconds, it will feel amazing. You can have whatever you want, you can do whatever you do, and it feels amazing. But remember that the moment in which you will not be able to do that, everything will crumble. Because living on that sensation, having that kind of life, is absolutely unsustainable. So I really stand by what I said at the start of the episode. I really believe that the worst thing that could happen to you is if you never learned to compromise. So go out there, try it, because I really believe it's something that it's worth investing and learning, and it will give you the best things that life has to offer. Thank you very much for listening. I realized that this was a longer, version of the Shower podcast. But again, it was a thought that I had, and I really want to use this space whenever I get these ideas, because you never know if somebody will pick this up. And again, if a debate will follow in the comment section, it will be something that I really believe it's worth picking your mind at. So again, if you made it so far, really, really thank you. And it's, again, the Shower podcast usually runs a bit shorter, but I hope that this whole moment managed to appreciate the idea. And as always, stay consistent, stay resilient. This was the Shower podcast, and I'll see you tomorrow.